Hello dear students, welcome to my channel 24/7 Upskill, and in this video I am going to explain you about the most important questions which comes under corporate structure and administration subject of first semester BCom Bangalore City University. And the important questions are purely based on the syllabus of Bangalore Central University. This is a syllabus. On the basis of this, I have given the most important questions. And as you have watched previous some videos, in that also I have explained important questions based unit by unit. Here also unit by unit only I am going to explain. The first unit is about the formation of joint stock company. How first we'll discuss about 2 marks question. How a company will be formed, a joint, especially the joint stock company, and what is a meaning, definition, or what will come to know. So the first one, what do you mean by company? See, basically the company is a voluntary association of different persons created by law as a separate body for specific purpose. See, here 4 things are there. One is voluntary association of different person created by law, and it's a separate body, and it is created for certain purpose, mainly achieving profit or maybe providing services. So that is the meaning of company. I'll repeat. A company is also called as joint stock company. It is a voluntary association of different persons created by law as a separate body or entity for specific purpose. Then what is joint stock company? See, according to certain people, if you want to say, according to Lord Justice Lindley, a company is an association of many persons who contribute money or money's worth to a common stock and employ it in some trade or business, and who share the profits or losses arising therefrom. See, it's an association of group of people where they will contribute money or money's worth, and once they get the profit, they are going to share it. That comes to joint stock company. Especially we can say joint stock, any company which incorporates its association as an artificial person by following the Company Act, will call it as joint stock company. Then we have the next one. It is something which is called as, what is the meaning of one person company? When we speak about various types of company, there is one company which is called as one person company. Under this type of companies, we can say the number of people will be not included over here. A single person will be identified as a company. Any single person who is identified as a company, we can call it as one person company. And here again it is purely on the basis of ownership. See, on the basis of ownership, we'll call it as a single person company. Then we have what is private company? Yes, see, private companies are those companies which are purely bifurcated or identified under non-government companies on the basis of ownership. Under that, what is the meaning of private company? See, private company is a company, or we can say private company is a company which is having a minimum paid up share capital of 1 lakh rupees or such higher paid up capital as may prescribed by the article or the act, and it is always restricted to transfer the rights to transfer, or that is here there is a restriction that the people, those who are having the shares, cannot transfer from one person to another person. Then we can say, except in case of one person company, limits the number of its. So here the minimum or maximum number is about 200. Then it prohibits an invitation of identifying the company. So as I said earlier, see, private company is a company which is having a minimum capital of 1 lakh rupees or more, and it always has a restriction of transferring the shares from one person to another person. Then we have, what do you mean by company limited by shares? See, whenever we see about company limited by shares, here the company will be having a identification, or it may be, we can call company having the liability of its member are limited and by the memorandum of amount, and if any unpaid shares are there, respectively held by them. In simple words, we can say companies limited by share are the companies which will be having fixed liabilities, especially on the share. Suppose I have 10 shares, in the sense, in the total risk, the 10 shares risk will be divided, and only for that liability I am responsible, not more than the number of shares. Then we have what is the meaning of limited by, so it's repeated, sorry. So what is public limited company? Yeah, public limited company, it comes under again on the basis of ownership. See, on the basis of ownership, we'll divide the companies into two different categories: public company and private company. Private company is one where the majority of the shareholders will be around 1 lakh, and there is no any transfer of ownership from one person to another person. But what is the meaning of government companies or public limited companies? See, public limited companies are those companies which will be held, or majority of the shares will be in the hands of the government or general public, or we can say even any private company which is not having minimum paid up capital of rupees 5 lakh or more than that, and a private company which is a subsidiary of company which is not a private company. So here in simple words, we can say public limited company is having a statutory meeting, but private company will not be having any statutory meeting. Then what is the meaning of statutory meeting? We'll discuss in the meetings chapter. Then what is the meaning of holding company or subsidiary company? When we speak about holding company or subsidiary company, holding company is a company which has head office. Subsidiary company means it comes under branch office. See, for holding company, the section is 246. And for subsidiary company, the section is 287. And here head holding company means the head office, and the subsidiary company means which is branch office. So here all the control will be in the hands of the holding company. And what is the meaning of government company? Yeah, just now I said, see, what is the meaning of government companies? The government companies are those companies where it will be so we can say more than 51% of the shares are in the hands of government. Either it may be central government or it may be state government, or sometimes partly state government and partly central government. Means that is that 51% may be 30% from state government and 21% from central government. So again, total government, it comes to 51%, right? So that is government company. Government company is a company where 51% of the shares or paid up capital are in the hands of the government. That is government company. Then now there is something which is called as associated company. What is that associated company? Let us check. The associate company is also one of the type of the company which comes under different types of companies. Associate company is a company which is related to another company, or we can say associate company in relation to another company means a company in which that other company has significant influence, but which is not a subsidiary company of any company which has such influence. So in simple words, we can say associate company is a company which is having close relation with another company but not a subsidiary company. Next we have give the meaning of small company. So what is the meaning of small company? Small company here again, it is also one of the type of company which comes under other types of company, that's especially based on the ownership. Under the ownership, private company, under private company will get small company. What is this small company? Say small company is a company other than public company whose paid up capital does not exceed rupees 50 lakhs and whose turnover as per leased accounts should not exceed 2 crores, and this will not include any holding company or any subsidiary company. We can say in simple words, any company which has a paid up capital which does not exceed 50 lakh, then we can call it as small company. Then we have something which is called as foreign company. So foreign company, it is where again the company which is purely from other types of companies. See, kinds of the companies will be divided under 5 heads. That is incorporation, based on incorporation, based on liability, based on ownership, based on control, and other types. So again in other types we have foreign company. So what is the meaning of foreign company? See, a foreign company means any company or any corporation which is incorporated outside India, especially the geographical location. On the basis of geographical location, we'll say it as foreign company. Any company which is situated outside the India will be called as foreign company. What is global company? See, again, global company is a company which operates not in single country, in multiple countries. Suppose I have a business in India, in the sense I have in UK also, I have in US countries also, so I have in so many countries. So then it comes and we can say like it is a global company. Then what is give the meaning of listed companies? What is the meaning of listed companies? See, whenever the companies wanted to issue shares or buy or sell the shares, they have to register the companies in the stock exchange. See, any company which is listed in the stock exchange or registered in the stock exchange will call that as a listed company. And when we speak about a listed company, it's purely about where the official stock exchange will be used for trading the shares. That is listed company, or it is also called as quoted company. QUOTED, quoted company. The next we have, what do you mean by formation of company? See, formation means you can say it is a creation of company. What is the meaning of creation of company? So what is the meaning of formation of company? See, any company which came into existence, that is legal existence, the process we will call it as formation of company, and this process will be discussed for 5 marks. Then who is a promoter? See, promoter is a person who start the business, who thinks innovatively, and who begins the business will call it as promoters. In simple words, promoter is a person who undertakes the responsibility of bringing a company into existence. A company into existence will call him as a promoter. Then what is incorporation of company? See, incorporation of a company is a second stage in the formation of company, that is registering the company in the under Companies Act. That comes to the point, we'll call it as incorporation of company. See, incorporation of company means it's a stage where under that stage we are going to register the company, or it is called as even registration stage. Then we have what is certificate of incorporation. So what is the meaning of certificate of incorporation? See, once we register our company, we'll get the permission from the government. We will get the permission from the government, and it will be in the form of a certificate. It will be in the form of a certificate. We can call it as even sometimes license. See, that license even which will be, we can consider it as a certificate of incorporation. Then what is e-filing? See, e-filing is a process where when the companies are going to register in the Companies Act, under Companies Act, they have to fill various informations in the form. So that electronic way of filing for registration will call e-filing. E-filing. Then we have prospectus. What is the meaning of prospectus? See, you have heard this particular topic, or maybe in general also, I think. See, prospectus means it's a brochure. It's a brochure. What is the meaning of brochure? See, normally why it is prepared, why we will look into the this particular prospectus. See, prospectus we can call it, it is a basic, we can say the first phase of any company. See, any information if you want to know about that particular company, you can come to know by looking into the prospectus. And for simple meaning, we can say prospectus under section 2 subsection 70, prospectus is defined as any document described or issued as prospectus and includes adhering prospectus refers to the section 32. Yeah, you remember, in simple words, no need of definition and all. See, prospectus is defined as any document which is issued as a prospectus which includes various details about the company under section 32 and under section 31, which will be such as notice, circular, advertisement or other documents inviting offers from the public for the subscription or purchase of any securities of a body corporate. So in simple words, you understand, prospectus is a document which is issued by the company by following certain articles, that is sections under 32 and 31, which is giving you an opportunity to purchase a particular company share by giving certain notice. That comes to prospectus. Then what do you mean by statement in lieu of prospectus? So statement in lieu of prospectus, it's another important thing which comes in prospectus. Whenever we see or whenever we look into the prospectus, there are certain issues. We can say statement in lieu of prospectus is similar to actual prospectus, but without the invitation to the public for subscribing to the shares of the company. And this statement is prepared when a company issues shares by a private placement, and the statement in lieu of prospectus is prepared for the purpose of record and not for the purpose of issuing the shares or allotment of the shares. That comes to statement in lieu of prospectus. Next we'll go to 5 marks questions. So under the 5 marks question, see this one which I have mentioned discuss the features of joint stock company. This can be even asked for 14 marks. This can be even asked for 14 marks or even to the 5 marks, because there are so many features such as it is an incorporated association, it's a voluntary association, it is artificial person, it has separate legal entity, it is always having perpetual existence, that is infinity, it has common seal, it is always limited by liability, it always transfers the shares, separate property, dilated management, limitation of action, maintenance of reserves, high capital contribution, loans in its own name, bound by numerical rules and regulations, various sources of finance. So these are all some examples for features. This can be asked even for 5 marks or 15 marks. Then we have something which is called as types of prospectus. See, whenever we look into the types of prospectus, we have something which is called as through private placements we have prospectus, through underwriting we have prospectus, shelf prospectus, red herring prospectus. These are the 4 different types of prospectus which comes in the first chapter. Then discuss the role and importance of promoter. Yes, see, promoter, who is a promoter? Yeah, I'll repeat once again. Promoter is a person who start the business, right? Who starts the business, and what is his role? He plays a major role. He plays a very major role. What are those roles he play? See, promoter, normally the owner will become sometimes as a promoter of the company. Sometimes the shareholders, see, individual person will come as a promoter. So what is the functions of a promoter, or role or importance of a promoter? We can say he always discover an idea for establishing a company when he is starting a company. He investigates the idea and to know whether the formation of company is possible or unprofitable. He has to check whether that idea what he thought it can be acceptable by the market, or can I get the profit? He can make an analysis and he can find out suitable person who are willing to act as a first directors of the company. He can select the name for the company. He can decide about the capital of the company. He can make proper arrangement for office of the company. He can meet all the preliminary expenses of the company. He has to submit all the documents required for incorporation at the time of register. So he has so many role and importance as a promoter. And write the history of company in India. So how an Indian in India, how company has came into existence, they may ask. So if they have if they're asking you anything which is related to the history of the company, you can write like the companies which were like three Companies Act. We have the Companies Act 1850, the Companies Act 1956, and then recent act is the Companies Act of 2013. So these three things you have to explain if they're asking, write the history of the company in India. So 15 marks question. The first question itself, explain various types of companies. There is a neat diagram. Like the types of the companies are divided under incorporation, liability on the basis of ownership and control. On the basis of incorporation, we have registered company, statutory company, and chartered company. On the basis of liability, we have limited by shares, limited by guarantee, and unlimited company. Based on ownership, we have government and non-government. Under non-government, we have public limited, private limited. Again, we have control. On the basis of control, we have holding company and subsidiary company. And other types, we have non-profit company, associated company, global company, listed company, foreign company, body corporate, etc. So this one you have to write a neat diagram and you have to explain. And next we have explain the functions of joint stock company. Just now I said the functions of joint stock company or company, one and same, and that can be asked even for 5 marks also and even for 15 marks also. If they're asking for 5 marks, you write around 7 to 8 functions are more than enough, and for 15 marks you write around 12 to 13, and you have to write a neat explanation. Then next, third, we have discussed the process of formation of a company. See, whenever a company comes into existence, it passes through various stages. It will be like how a production will be having, how a product will be having a life cycle, how a human is having a life cycle. Likewise, even when we are starting a company, it has to follow certain stages. Promotion stage, incorporation stage, raising the share capital stage, or we can say capital subscription stage, and commencement of the business. So these are the 4 different stages under formation of joint stock company. So next we have what is memorandum of association and explain its clauses. Yes, see, memorandum of association is a very precious document, right? It is a very precious document which will be prepared by the company, where it includes various informations under how many clauses? It has 7 clauses, such as name clause, name of the company, situation clause, object clause, liability clause, capital clause, subscription clause, and succession clause. So these are the 7 different stages where you need to explain in detail. Then next we have articles of association. What is AOA and explain its contents. It's like what is the meaning of articles of association and how you can you have to write some contents of articles of association. It has so many, such as allotment of shares, calls on shares, nomination, forfeited of shares, alteration of capital, buyback, share certificate, dematerialization, conversion of shares into stock, voting rights, proxies, nominee directors, seal, remuneration to directors, general manager. See, these are all the information which will be there in the articles of association. Then we have something which is called as explain the contents of prospectus. So I said prospectus is a document which will be issued to the general public by following certain legal rules and regulations, whereas it should be having certain documents, right? So what are the things it has to include? So what are the contents we should have in the prospectus? So the prospectus should have it should be dated and it should be signed, and it should include name of the company, address of the registered company, and name of the company secretary, CEO, CFO, auditor, legal advisors, bankers, trustees, underwriters if any, and dates of the opening and closing of the issue, declaration about issue of allotment letters and refund within the prescribed time, details about underwriting the issue, and so on. There are around 15 to 18 contents for prospectus. For 15 marks, if you are writing 12 to 13 are more than enough. And finally, explain the functions of promoter. Just now I explained even in roles and objectives of the promoter, right? Who is called as a promoter? Promoter is a person who begins the company. And what is his functions? He will perform various functions such as generating idea and establishing the company. So he has to follow so many functions, and those functions especially which are related to the functions which will be followed by the owners of the company. This is about first chapter. So now we will move on to the second chapter. Second chapter is about capital of a company, which means if you are calling any company, what type of capital they are using, what type of capital the company will use. You know what is the meaning of capital? See, capital is a amount which is invested at the beginning of the company to start the company, and after starting the company they'll include or they will get certain additional capital for running the company, which is called as working capital. So we are not going to discuss anything about working capital over here. So we'll see what is the meaning of capital. See, the capital can be used in the means of capital goods, that is in the tools of production, or money which is available for investment or in any investment amount. See, sometimes capital will not be always in the form of cash. It may be even in the form of asset. So that comes to the meaning of capital. And what is the meaning of authorized, issued, paid up, called up capital? So one by one I'll explain. See, authorized capital means the capital which is being issued by the company. It intends to get itself registered. See, the amount for which they have registered that particular amount and which is mentioned in the memorandum of association, will call it as authorized capital. We are not supposed to change that capital, because without the correction or without the alteration in the memorandum of association we can't change it. And next we have paid up capital. See, paid up capital is a type of capital which is actually paid or credited by the shareholders on the issued shares. So how much capital we have collected, that comes here. Then issued capital means the capital which is being it's a part of authorized capital which is offered by the company for the subscription. Suppose 10 lakh is my authorized capital, in the sense 5 lakh I'll issue, and which means I'll call for subscription. So that comes to issued capital. Then what is the meaning of called up capital? See, called up capital under section 215, the Companies Act of 2013, called up capital is a part of capital which the company calls for payment. This is the total amount that the company calls up on the issued shares. So that comes to called up capital. Then what is the meaning of calls in arrears? What is the meaning of this calls in arrears? See, calls in arrears are those amount which will be deducted, or we can say which will be returned to the shareholders. So that comes to calls in arrears. Then calls in advance, in the sense sometimes without before paying or before allotting the shares, we will make certain advance. A number of shares will be allotted to the investors. That comes to calls in advance. What do you mean by share capital? Yes, see, share capital is a capital, we can say, according to joint stock. See, it will be issued always by the joint stock company. We can say the amount so raised is called share capital, we can call, where the amount required by the company for its business activities and is raised by issue of shares. Any capital which is raised by issuing the shares, we will call it as share capital. Then we have equity shares. See, under share capital we have two types of shares. One come to equity shares and another one is preference shares. So let us see what is the meaning of shares first. A share is also a type of a security, we can say. This is according to the section 2 subsection 84 of the Companies Act of 2013. A share is the share capital of the company including the stock. In other words, a share is a measure of the interest in the company's assets held by a shareholder. So that is about equity shares. Then we have equity shares. See, equity shares are also called as ordinary shares, and we can say even common stock also. And then what is the meaning of equity shares? Equity shares are those shares which gives complete ownership of the business. A person who has a equity share will be called as the owners of the company. Well, then what is the meaning of preference shares? Preference shares are the shares which will be having preference at two times. One is at the time of winding up of the company, and and another one is at the time of payment of the dividend, and they don't have any voting right, but equity shareholders will be having voting right. Then next we have debentures. What is the meaning of debentures? Again, debentures means it is one of the instrument which comes in capital market. So here the word debenture itself is derived from Latin word debere, which means to borrow or loan. A debenture may be defined as a document issued by the company as an evidence of debt, and it is acknowledgement of the company's indebtedness to the holders. So here this will be like where from the individual the company is taking loan, not from financial institutions. So individuals will give the money to the company, and for that they'll get certain interest, and it will be called as debentures. And next we have what do you mean by listing of securities? Again this question I have already answered you in the previous chapter. So in that particular chapter I told already what is the meaning of listing of securities. Listing is a process where the companies are going to be recognized in the stock exchange. The recognition which will happen in the stock exchange through certain agreements. Next we have what is demat account. So demat account is an account which is required for any individual who wants to buy or sell any company shares in the share market. Suppose I am an individual and I want to sell any company shares or purchase any company shares, in the sense I should have demat and online trading account. Next we have book building. Yeah, book building, it's very important. See, what is the meaning of book building? We can say book building is also can be defined as a process which is used by the companies while raising the capital through public offering, both initial public offerings and follow-on public offerings, to aid price and demand discovery. See, book building means it's a process of raising the capital through initial public offerings. Then expand IPO and SEBI. IPO means initial public offering. SEBI means Securities Exchange Board of India. So next we have explain the features of equity shares. See, one thing I want to tell you here is in this particular chapter there are 4 things you learn. See, equity shares, preference shares, debentures, equity shares, features, advantages, disadvantages, preference shares, the advantages, disadvantages, features, preference shares, features, advantages, disadvantages. See, if you know advantages and disadvantages, then you can add these together and you can write it as a features. So if here explain the features of equity share. So what are the features which an equity share will be having? See, it will be having so many features, such as it is always included voting rights. It will be having voting rights, and these type of shares will be issued only by passing a resolution in the general meeting. And equity shares of the company will be always listed in the recognized stock exchange before issuing, and the shares with the different rates of which will not exceed 26%. Then the company which should consist of good track record for distributing the profit within last 3 years, and the company should not have any default of payment which is declared dividend to the shareholders, and the company has not default in payment of the dividend or on preference shares or repayment of any loan, and the company has not been penalized by the court on tribunal during the last 3 years. See, these are all the 4 important things which are about equity shares. Normally it is having a voting rights, and it will be having final preference. Next we have features of debentures. So debentures are having so many features. It is considered as a debt instrument. It is also called a certificate of debt, and it is not having any voting rights. Debenture holders will get interest, and even though the company goes under loss, this debenture holders will get interest, and the interest will be always paid periodically, and it is always for a fixed period, and this can be issued at par, premium and discount, and it always gives a credit rating agency approval to SEBI for before listing, and so on, we can say. So that comes to the features of debentures. And what are the features of preference shares? As the name itself says, preference shares. Preference shares are the shares which are having preferential rights when it is getting the dividend and at the time of winding up of the company. So apart from this, we have preference shares will be having fixed rate of income, that is dividend. Preference shareholders generally will get the dividend along with the present year. Suppose it will be, even we can call it as cumulative and non-cumulative type of preference shares. Next, we have something which is called as explain the advantages and disadvantages of debentures. Yes, the advantages and disadvantages, we can say advantages are like it is very secured investment, and it is always having fixed return. There will be stability in price. Then it is always non-interference in management. The people, those who are debenture holders, are nowhere related to get into part of decision making. It is too economical, and availability of funds, and finally regular source of income. And disadvantages, it is permanent burden of interest to the company. It always limits the company's credit, and they are not having any permission to participate in management decisions. So that comes to advantages and disadvantages of debentures. And advantages and disadvantages of equity shares and preference shares, I'll explain now. See, state the difference between equity shares and preference shares. With a neat diagram, you have to write the difference between equity shares and preference shares. So first you can take it as meaning. Meaning here, equity shares, owners of the company. Preference shareholders are not owners of the company. Payment of dividend. Equity shares payment will be dividend. Payment will be made, or dividend will be paid after all liabilities. But preference dividend, there will be a fixed. Then repayment of capital or the winding up of the company. For equity shares, it is at the end, but preference shareholders, it is at the beginning. Then rate of dividend, equity shares, it's always fluctuating, but preference shares, it is fixed. Redemption, there is no chance of redemption of equity shares, and redemption of preference share is possible. Voting rights, equity shareholders will be having voter rights, and preference shareholders will not be having voting right. Convertibility, equity shares can be easily converted into preference shareholders, but preference shareholders can be converted into equity shareholders. Then arrears of dividend, equity shareholders are not having any rights of a previous dividend, but preference shareholders can get the dividend soon. That is, if suppose they have not got this year, in the sense next year they can get for both the year, that is for the previous year and the current year. Next, we have explain the types of preference shares. See, under preference shares we have so many types, which comes like cumulative preference share, non-cumulative, then it comes to redeemable, non-redeemable, convertible, non-convertible, and participating, non-participating. There are 8 different types of preference shares. You have to write in detail with a neat explanation. Then next we have debentures. Even in debenture also we have so many types: registered, bearer debentures, secured, unsecured debentures, redeemable, irredeemable, preferred, ordinary, equity, legal, convertible, non-convertible. So these are the different types of debentures which you have to explain. And finally, explain the SEBI guidelines for the issue of shares and debentures. See, they have to follow so many guidelines. The first one is first issue of new company, and existing company, and public limited company, or right issue, or fully convertible. It depends, where listing of the securities is the first step, and apart from that we can say delisting the securities. So this is about second chapter. Third one, administration of a company. See, whenever we are speaking about a company, there are some group of people who will take care of the company, and the first question is, who are key managerial personnel, which means the people who plays a major role in the top level of the organization. Who are those? CEOs, that is Chief Executive Officer, CFO, Chief Financial Officer, CS, Company Secretary, manager, managing director, whole-time director. So we have so many types of directors. When it comes to directors, I'll explain. So these are the people who plays a major role in the company. Who is a managing director? See, managing director means a director who, by virtue of the articles of the company or an agreement with the company or a resolution passed in the general meeting or by its board of directors, is entrusted with substantial powers of management of the affairs of the company, and includes a director occupying the position management director or whatever the name called. See, in simple words, we can say managing director means a director who is appointed based on a resolution which is passed in the meeting or by the board of directors for substantial powers. Then what is CFO? Chief Financial Officer means a person who appointed as a chief financial officer of the company, who takes care all the financial issues of the company. Then next we have independent director. See, independent directors are those directors where whenever they are taking certain decisions, no need that they have to contact with certain people. Contact certain people, so it is not required. They can take their own decision. Those directors will come under independent director. And who is whole-time director? See, whole-time director is a person where his full employment will be in the company, so he has to work only for that particular company, not to other companies. Then we have what is CSR committee. See, CSR is one which is playing a very major role nowadays. We can say how an institution is having institutional social responsibility. Likewise, even the companies will be having its own responsibility towards the society. When it is having its own responsibility towards society, we'll call it as corporate social responsibility. Corporate social responsibility committee. Corporate social responsibility committee. And this where but when we speak about CSR committee, when we speak about this CSR committee, it is always a committee which is being formed under the rules and regulations of the Companies Act of 2013. Companies Act of 2013 and under section 135. And what is the purpose of this particular CSR committee? It is a process by which an organization thinks about and evolves its relationship with the stakeholders for the common good and demonstrates, which means for the purpose of maintaining good relation with the society, a certain committee will work for the company. That committee is called as CSR. Who is a legal advisor? See, legal advisor is a person who provides all legal guidance to the company. All legal guidance to the company when it is going for registration, when it is going for incorporation, when it is going to decide something, anything. They will take certain it's not permission, it is like advice. They'll take certain advice from the people, especially the people those who are having law, or the people those who are having CS or CA type of qualification, and with the permission of them they'll continue with their process. Though that comes to legal advisor. And who is an auditor? Auditor is a person who works in the company to check the accounts. We can say auditor is a person who examines and verifies the accuracy of the accounts maintained by the company. Next we have 5 marks question. Mention the qualification for appointment of a director. See, whenever we speak about a director, for that particular director, we can't appoint that particular person without certain qualifications. So he should have certain qualification. The qualifications are broadly classified into educational qualification, professional qualification, and personal qualification. Educational, where the company he should have a company secretary has to deal with many people, name and fame, so he must have higher education. And he should represent the company. He should have language proficiency. He should have wide general knowledge. and so on. So we can say in personal quality should be honesty, integrity, loyalty, the courtesy, punctuality, tactfulness, cautiousness, sense of discipline and responsibility, professional minded. So there are so many characteristics he should have. So that comes to minimum qualification of a director, and a director is having certain duties. The duties will be like broadly classified into duties in relation to directors, miscellaneous duties, duties towards office, then duties in relation to general public. So they are acting as a bridge between the government and company, public and company. So they have so many duties to discharge towards shareholders, towards customers, towards that is all stakeholders. Then mention the powers of audit committee. Yeah, so the audit committee is started, or the audit committee will be started, or it will be having certain intention. What are those intentions? See, the intention is like to check the accuracy of the accounts, right? What are the type of powers they have? The powers they have is where, like every auditor of the company has right to access the books of accounts, so he has a right to access the books. Then every auditor shall be entitled to obtain such information and explanation from officers. Suppose they feel certain mistake or confusion or any doubt in the accounts, in the sense they can get the clarification from the respective people in the company. And so the right to attend general meeting, right to attend hear the general meeting, right to visit the branch office, right to receive remuneration, right to lien. So this is the power of audit committee. Then mention the qualification of company secretary. So company secretary, just now I have explained, the director and the company secretary comes under minimum, like almost the same. One or two will be changed, one or two will be changing, that's all, not more than that. So if I want to say, we can say like the qualifications for directors, like they should have a legal they should have a legal degree, or with a high we can say post graduation degree they should have, and should have a minimum experience. Then they should have a very good thinking ability, honesty, right? Those are the things which we can call. Then mention the write the position of the company secretary. Yeah, company secretary, again, he is a person who works for the company, and he has certain positions. Secretary as an officer, secretary as a servant, secretary is an advisor, secretary is a coordination person, secretary is an administrator, and secretary is an agent. So these are the position of the company secretary. So state the reasons for removal of company secretary. So there are sometimes what happens, will the company will remove the company secretary. So the reasons can be like disqualification of the company secretary, maybe because of qualification, maybe, or it may be because of contract, maybe the contract has been ended, or it may be like they got the irregularities of the company secretary, and under so many reasons, like they came to know that he's a fraud, or to have moral erosion, and to have permanent inability, if suppose to break with the code of conduct, the neglect duties intentionally. If these are all the such situations where the company will remove the company secretary. And 15 marks questions: see who is MD, who is managing director, and explain the functions of managing director. So managing director is a topmost person, or the person who is having highest position in the company. And what are the functions he will perform? See, he will perform major functions such as he will be checking into the books of accounts, like legal functions he will perform, operational functions he will perform, and we can say he will act as a permission agent to the company. He will prepare the articles of association, memorandum of association, and also he has lots of functions. And liabilities of director, when we speak about a director, again he has certain liabilities. So the liabilities will be under personal liability, as an officer liability, as an officer in default, and for fraud he has to fulfill so many liabilities, and that he has to, then that can become for 15 marks. Then explain the duties and responsibilities of a company secretary. So company secretary will be having so many duties, such as duty in relation to directors, to shareholders, to organization and office, and to public. So we'll call generally the duties are divided into general duties and statutory duties. Then narrate the power and rights of the general secretaries. So company secretary. So company secretaries power and duty are those which comes like powers and rights. So they have the right to inspect the book whenever they want. Supervision and control, the powers and rights we can say. Signing authority they have, exercising power they have, issuing testimonial, claiming salary and damages, preferential auditing, attending meeting, to superintend or direct or control office work, to do all such activities which are authorized by directors, to issue testimonials to employees on behalf of the company, to sign the proceedings of the company, to get the remuneration. So these are the powers and rights of the company. So this is about administration of the company, third chapter. So fourth we have corporate meetings. Corporate meetings are again specially related to the meetings which happens in the company. Whenever any decision, either it may be minor or major decisions, it will not be taken by an individual. A group, an activity which will be conducted in the company, and through that activity with the common decision they will take. So that it is called as meeting. So any meeting which is conducted in companies will call it as corporate meeting. So let us see what is the meaning of a meeting. See, a meeting may be generally defined as gathering or assembly of getting together of a number of persons for transacting any lawful business. There must be at least 2 persons to constitute a meeting. See, just now I said, see, meeting is a activity which has happened by gathering. The people will gather together in a place and they will discuss, and it should be some lawful business, and at least the minimum number for meeting is 2. Minimum number is 2. We can call that as a corporate meeting. Then what is annual general meeting? See, annual general meeting is a meeting which will be conducted by the company yearly once, where the majority of the shareholders will come to the company. They'll come to the meeting, and major decisions will be taken in that particular meeting. Then what is EAGM? See, EAGM is extraordinary general meeting. Extraordinary general meeting, and this meeting is carried by, or we can call a meeting of the members or the shareholders of a club or a company or any other organization, held short notice, especially in order to consider a particular matter. Any immediate meeting or emergency meeting which happens with only the top officials of the company will call emergency, that is extraordinary general meeting. Then next we have proper authority. What is the meaning of proper authority? Proper authority means the person who has all the rights to take certain decision. All the rights to take certain decision, will call it as proper authority. The authority to call a general meeting is the board of directors of the company. See, that comes to proper authority. Then what is the meaning of notice? A notice is every general meeting. A notice will be given to all members of the company, or every person entitled to share a consequence when insolvent. So auditors. So what is the meaning of a notice? Notice means it's a document which is issued. It is a deliberate omission to give notice to a single member may invalidate to the meeting. So it is a notice which will be issued to the shareholders, maybe for informing something about the meeting. Then we have agenda. Agenda means it's a situation where it gives guidance and complete information about what they are going to discuss in the meeting. What the things which are going to be discussed in the meeting. The next we have what is quorum. Minimum number of members required to constitute a valid meeting or transact a business there is called as quorum. Quorum means minimum number of people who are required for a meeting. Then we have chairman, who is called as chairman. See, chairman is a person or a general meeting of the company is to be prescribed over by a chairman who regulates and supervises the proper conduct of the business at a meeting. See, any person who takes care of for the purpose for which purpose the meeting has started and the same purpose the meeting has done, in the sense one person will be taking care of it and that person will be called as chairman. And what is the meaning of proxy? So proxy is one thing which will be I think this is one which you can learn from this particular chapter. Normally, you know the simple meaning of proxy. Proxy means where you will not come to the class and on behalf of you another person will tell your attendance. So that comes to proxy, right? No, it's not proxy. See, proxy means we can say any personal representative of the member at a meeting, the person authorized to act or vote for another at a meeting of the company. We can say, for example, I am the head for the department and for due to some official duty or for personal duty I am on leave, in the sense on behalf of me one more faculty from my department will be taking care of my position in the meeting. So whatever I can discuss in that meeting they can discuss. So he or she will be called as proxy. And what is the meaning of motion? See, motion means it's a process where whenever the companies wants to move the files from one person to another person, see, from one person to another person, will call that as a motion. And what is the meaning of resolution? Resolution means it's a kind of act, we can say act, whenever the companies are passing certain rules and regulations, that is which will be signed by all the people of the meeting. So if you want, I'll explain once again. See, a motion is defined as proposal put before a meeting for its consideration and adoption, and a resolution on the other hand is a formal expression of decision of a meeting when motion has been duly voted upon, passed by majority. See, motion and resolutions are entered together. Before starting any meeting they will give certain information about it, like this is a thing we want to do, can we do it, and after the meeting they will give an approval for it, that comes to resolution. And what is minutes of meeting? See, minutes of meeting, even it is called as MOM. What is the meaning of minutes of meeting? Minutes of meeting is a process where the companies once when the meeting is happening, the one person or two person will list out all the main points which are discussed in the meeting, and at the end the members in that particular meeting and the chairman will be signing that particular document. That comes to minutes of meeting. And what do I mean by ordinary meeting? See, in the meeting we have so many types of meeting, such as ordinary meeting, special business meeting and all. So what is the meaning of ordinary meeting? See, ordinary meeting is a meeting where just for the purpose of certain simple decision or without major intimation and all, the particular meeting will be conducted. So that comes to ordinary meeting. And what is special meeting? See, special business meeting is a meeting where it will be conducted for taking certain special decisions. For certain special decisions. So that comes to special business meeting. So 5 marks. What are the functions of chairman in a meeting? So he has to arrange the time and place, he has to prepare the agenda and he has to communicate that agenda, calling everyone to the meeting to order on time, make clear and purpose of the meeting, keeping discussion on course, controlling over enthusiastic member, electing contributions, creating good atmosphere, summarizing the discussion from time to time, working to end the meeting on schedule and thanking the member. So these are the things which he has to, the functions of the chairman. And what are the contents of notice? I said just now, notice is a document or it is a intimation which will be given to the shareholders, even auditors, So what is the content which will be having? See, the notice should have the certain content, such as it should specify the name of the meeting, place of the meeting, date of the meeting, hour of the meeting, and agenda of the meeting, and declarations. And if it is required for any clause, they have to mention under section 173. Either it may be for general business course, that is accounts, declaration of dividend, appointment of director or place, or retiring, or fixing remuneration to auditors, etc. Or it may be on special business or any other business at the annual general meeting. So next we have write the process of preparation of agenda. So whenever the agenda the company wants to prepare, it has to follow certain methods, and always it should be according to its chronological sequence. Like it should have attendance. They have to maintain, first they have to make a checklist where what are the topic they have to discuss, what are the things they are going to discuss in that particular meeting. So that's about the process of preparation of agenda. Then for 15 marks, what is statutory meeting, and explain the procedure for conducting statutory meeting. See, statutory meeting is one of the type of meeting which comes under types of meeting, and this statutory meeting is a meeting which will be always right. I was into what is a statutory meeting and explain the procedure for conducting statutory meeting. See, statutory meeting is a meeting which is conducted, and it is compulsory to conduct. It is also called as first annual general meeting, where majority shareholders will be joining together, and it will happen yearly once, or 6 months once. So that comes to the statutory meeting. That is after once the company is incorporated, and they have to conduct this within a limit not less than 1 month and not more than 6 months. Within the period of 6 months, they have to conduct one meeting. That comes to statutory meeting. And for this statutory meeting, they have to follow certain rules and regulations, and that can be where they have to create an agenda. They have to send a intimation to the shareholders, a time, venue, date. Then they have to provide the notice. Then after, once the meeting is conducted, the chairman has to make all the necessary preparations for the conduction of a meeting, so and so on. Then we have what are the duties and powers of chairman. So I have explained the role and powers. Comes to here, the chairman will be having casting vote. Then the chairman has considered as a prime face authority to decide all the questions which arises at a meeting and which require decision at the future time. And he can enter the minutes of meeting, and chairman decision is evidence of the decision of the meeting, and the chairman has a right to decide priority among the speakers, who has to speak first and who has to speak next. And he can adjourn a meeting when it is impossible by reason of disorder or other like causes to conduct the meeting. Suppose the meeting is cancelled, in the sense he is having the right to cancel the meeting due to certain reasons. Then last chapter, see, under last chapter there are no such questions for 15 marks. 15 marks. Suppose if they're asking, it will be like explain the advantages and disadvantages of MNCs. So structure and administration of global companies. So we have only few 2 marks questions which are expected from this particular chapter. That's about the first one, global companies. So what is the meaning of global companies? This one just now I have explained in the previous chapter. See, global companies are the companies which will be having its business in more than one country. Any business which has company which has its business in more than one country, that company is called as global company. What is transnational company? See, the global companies are bifurcated under divided under 4 different categories. So one, it comes to transnational company. So what is the meaning of transnational company? See, transnational company means it's a company where it's a multinational company where much more complex organizations. See, these are always much more complexional type of organization. They have invested in foreign companies, have some central corporate facility, but giving decision, R&D and marketing powers to each individual foreign markets, each individual market. So here major decision will be in the hands of the head office, but here those who are buying and selling activities or the other part of the business can be taken without any issues. Then what is multinational company? Multinational companies are the companies which are invested in various companies but do not have coordinated product offerings in each country. For example, in one country they will be having production and another country they will be having sales, not all the functions. So that comes to multinational companies. Then what is international company? An international company is an organization that has business operation in several markets across the globe. An international company is involved in importing or exporting goods from one country to another country. And finally, what do you mean by host and home country? See, home country means where the head office is located, and host office means where host country means where the branch office is located. See, what are the benefits of MNCs to home country? What are the benefits of MNCs to host country? So both I'll explain together. See, advantages like first one, it provides employment opportunities. It can use latest technologies. It gets management expertise. It helps domestic traders and intermediaries. Then MNCs break protectionism, local monopolies, and create competition among domestic companies. Domestic companies R&D will be used by the MNCs. MNCs can result in technology and knowledge sharing. MNCs can generate employment opportunities. MNCs can train and equip the local human capital and modern technologies and skills. MNCs can help the host countries to improve their relationship with companies and parent countries. MNCs prove high quality and modern facilities and serve the consumers of the host country. And another benefits or the advantages I can say here, like to the home country, means for India, what is the benefit? Suppose if MNCs are coming, in the sense MNCs creates opportunities for marketing their products produced in the home country. They create employment opportunities. It gives a boost to industrial activities in the home country. MNCs helps to maintain favorable balance of payment, that is BOP. And finally, home country can also get the benefit of foreign culture by MNCs. So this comes to benefits of MNC to home country and host country. Then the same you can write for features. The same you can write for features, and even some of like experience, innovation, budget. It will be always, MNCs will be investing always large budgets, aggressiveness and localization. Then what are the limitations of MNCs? Yeah, there are certain limitations, disadvantages, you can write it here. See, MNCs, see here the 15 marks I said advantages and disadvantages of MNCs, right? So the same which comes here, limitations and benefits. Limitations of MNCs were sometimes it becomes outdated technology. MNCs do not operate within national autonomy. MNCs may kill the domestic industry. In order to make profit, MNCs may use natural resources indiscriminately, and it will go or cause depletion in the resources. A large sum of money flows to foreign countries in terms of payments towards profit, dividend and royalty. It increases the dependence of host country and so on. And some other disadvantages are MNCs transfer the capital from their country to home country at various host countries, causing unfavorable balance of payment. It may not create employment opportunities to the people of home country, and if it adopts a geocentric approach, an investment in foreign countries is more profitable. MNCs may neglect the home country's industrial and economic development. So this comes to limitations. And finally, explain the legal requirement of a MNC. So legal requirement here, where they have to have incorporate entity, they should have license office, they should have branch office, wholly owned subsidiaries, set up an office of the foreign country. So they have to follow 5 different steps along with the government route and automatic route. this is about 5 marks, and for 15 marks, whatever I said individually, features, advantages, limitations, benefits of MNCs, you can join together and you can write and explain the types of global companies. Global companies, this they have not asked for 15 marks actually. They can ask for 5 marks, such as multinational companies, international companies, transnational companies, and global companies. So this is about today's video. Thank you for watching. Kindly like, share. Especially I want your comments. Kindly comment. Thank you. All the best.